Okay, guys, so everyone ready? Yeah? Okay. I cooked some presentation. I hope you like it. Slides are pretty wild. Okay, so I would start with the question. So, what is capital efficiency? Are there any liquidity providers here who used different AMM pools? Yeah, quite okay, some share of people. Okay, so what is capital efficiency? I read something on the internet and it was stated that it's like volumes per capital which you could attract, or probably fees per capital, or maybe yield. There are like a different approaches how to measure capital efficiency in different protocols. There are like tens of different research papers analyzing different metrics which they differently call like efficiency, capital efficiency, liquidity efficiency, provision efficiency, no matter how you call it. So we don't know what capital efficiency is. I personally don't know. But I can spot some inefficiencies. So I will highlight few and then we will discuss how we can solve it. So first of all, we just took a look at hugest liquidity pools in DeFi and analyze it. If this liquidity is actually living pools or it's sitting idle without moving, without being swapped, without working. And actually, we found out that 90% of this year, this is share of liquidity sitting idle in those protocols. For sure, I understand that some of those protocols with asterisks, they're range-based. It's a little bit different thing, but it still makes sense that this liquidity is not working. But it's definitely participating in price curve. So prices are being computed based on this liquidity, but this liquidity is not actually working. It's not being swapped for the most of the time. Maybe a few days a year it's working, but most of the time it's not. So what are other inefficiencies we could spot here? For liquidity provider, we see that whenever they're trying to provide liquidity to different pairs, they should split their USDC or either like the most liquid assets should be split among opportunities. And this is a liquidity fragmentation actually. One more point is that this liquidity is being locked inside AMM pools. What means being locked? You can withdraw it anytime you wish. Yeah, that's true. But locked means it's DeFi disabled. So if you have some tokens there, you can't vote with them in DAO. You can't do any other DeFi stuff because the only thing could be done to these assets is actually they could be transferred in and out to taker and from taker for swaps. So yeah, AMM Pulse is doing this like since 2017. Here we are coming with a new approach. Our approach is that all the capital sits in LP wallet and AMMs getting access to this capital on demand. When taker is coming to make a swap, they can get this access through Aqua from LP wallet. So this actually makes those AMM be able to work on the same capital. They could get shared access to the same capital, which can increase utilization of this capital. And for sure, it also elevates utility efficiency. Whenever you have some tokens in your wallet, it can be at the same time working in some AMM strategies. And at the same time, you could use this for DeFi. You could vote in DAO or V tokenomics or like whatever those tokens are offering. That's the nice visualization of how this is actually working. Aqua smart contract is like a settlement layer to provide shared liquidity access, and for the maker can configure the exact balances for specific strategy. And taker, when they come to swap with AMM, they get these assets through Aqua. So AMM use API called pull and push. When assets being pulled, balances decrease. When assets being pushed, balances increase. So that's it. Swap here turns into pull push here, and at the end it's getting access to real balances. And Aqua have those virtual balances for different AMMs, for different makers, for different strategies. It was about shared access, but unlocked access also means that you could elevate your efficiency. It could be utility efficiency if you vote in DAO. Or this could be also capital efficiency, because you could leverage your money with money market. You could, I'll show this on the next slide. And you could also borrow liquidity from money market on demand. If anyone remembers, there was a project, Black Hole Swap. It was borrowing liquidity on demand during the swap. So now it's possible within Aqua. Yeah, what is leveraged liquidity? So maker can turn their funds into triple amount of collateral and double amount of debt. So it's 3 minus 2 is still 1. This makes sense economically, yeah? You could spin up this position slowly by depositing, withdrawing, adding collateral, borrowing more, depositing again, or you could use flash loans or any other cool DeFi things to turn your 1K into 3K and 2K debt. That's fine. And here you can turn this debt, or turn this collateral into working liquidity through Aqua. And this means that you can have 3x capital efficiency by unlocked, feature of being unlocked, and also have 2x, for example, efficiency through shared liquidity. If you would put like in 3 pairs, every asset will be in 2 different pairs, so you will have like a 6K virtual liquidity instead of 1K originally. The only difference here is that Aqua would not be able to pool 1K of these assets because you will be under collateralized. This would lead to revert. Money market would not let you do this. So AMMs should support ability to push first and pull then. So yeah, Aqua does not restrict this, but AMMs should be able to support this. This is on them. So yeah, capital efficiencies of both properties, shared liquidity and unlocked liquidity, could be multiplied. Again, what is capital efficiency? I think that this new approach is redefining this. I think capital efficiency is no more a protocol metric. It's a measure of LP efforts and risk appetite. So you could have almost unlimited capital efficiency. This depends on your efforts. So yeah, I think that many people heard about toxic and non-toxic flow. Name toxic usually means that it's non-profitable. But I think this concept is wrong, and we can introduce new concept. I think it would be better to discuss toxic and non-toxic flow as actually fair and unfair volumes. Fair volumes are volumes which are being delivered to protocol from aggregators. So this is volumes which are deserved by the protocol, by its properties, by its formula, by its liquidity, by the prices it could offer. And unfair volumes, it's volumes which are delivered to your protocol because of unfair competitive advantage. Like you can send from your front end to your smart contract some volumes without considering other opportunities in blockchain, and this would be definitely unfair volumes. And Aqua here is leveraging your capital efficiency so you could even earn on toxic flow. And here we come to the next chapter. So Aqua is a settlement layer for different market making smart contracts, automated or professional market makers. This could be a wallet or something like this. So we came up to own smart contract, which could also work through Aqua, and which adds like a huge composability idea. So VM here is basically a virtual machine. So I was asked multiple times what it is, like swap VM, what it is, what the heck is swap VM? It's actually a smart contract on EVM, which have a special architecture, which looks as following. We have instructions inside of this virtual machine, which can be combined with each other. So liquidity provider can select which instructions they want and configure them as they wish. They can set up custom flat fees. They could have instruction for dynamic fees. It's not on the slide. It can select a swap formula. It can select concentration. If you want to concentrate your liquidity in specific range, there's instruction for this. And yeah, decay spread is something like a thing which sells arbitrage opportunity after trade. So we invented it like a while ago in 2020 or 2021. It was called Muniswap. And now it's possible to combine this instruction with other instructions. So you could get concentrated Muniswap behavior. So how it's possible? The core piece of architecture is a data model. Data model here is those 4 registers. It's balances in and out and amounts in and out. What does it mean? When swap is happening, some asset is coming to maker, that's in. And some asset is leaving maker as a balance, it's out. So we have balances of those assets already in place, and we have one of the amounts provided by taker. This means that taker either could come with the amount they want to bring to maker, and we have to compute the out amount we are giving to taker. Or taker could come with the amount they want to get, and we have to compute amount we will charge. So the whole idea of instructions is that to compute the missing amount. So examples of instructions. The very first and very obvious one is constant product AMM formula. When balances before swap multiplied to each other should be equal to the balances after swap multiplied to each other. And they are basically derived to these things. So this instruction checks if amount out is 0, we have to compute it like that. If amount in is 0, it computes amount like that. That's basic thing. So next instruction is concentration. So if we place this concentration instruction before swap instruction, it would lead to concentrated liquidity behavior. And the only thing this instruction is doing actually, it's increasing balances by some deltas computed off-chain. In smart contract, in virtual machine, we actually don't care about this math at all. We just increase balances. And after this, the previous formula is working and behavior is like that. That your real balances, they move on this curve. But virtual balances increased here works on this invariant. One more thing, if you would collect fees here, this price range would actually increase. Yeah, when we name this instruction XYC concentrate grow price range. But yeah, some people would like to have a range which is keep maintaining its boundaries. That's why we wrote different instruction and called it XYC concentrate grow liquidity, which is just scales those deltas by invariant increase. And that's it. And one more instruction is how Muniswap is working. So basically, I would explain, it will repeat multiple times here, but I will explain like that. So when you start with those balances and some swap happens here, the swap in back direction does not start here immediately. It's starting from the old point with old balances. So this instruction is pretending that swap in reverse direction should happen as this previous swap never happened yet. And it's decaying over time. So balances are starting moving from old one to new one, and somewhere arbitrage happens. Arbitrage happens here on virtual balances and here on real balances. Then again, it goes here, decaying over time. At some point, arbitrage happens again, and swap happens. On virtual balances, it's happening here. On real balances, it's happening here. And at the end, balances again trying to decay to real balances, and at the end, final arbitrage happens. And this thing leads to for much higher earnings for liquidity providers. when we had this implemented in Uniswap, we saw that arbitrage earnings profits were reduced 10 times. Meanwhile, liquidity provider earnings increased twice because they were earning almost the same amount. Arbitrage traders and liquidity providers were earning almost the same amounts for the most liquid trading pairs and pools on Uniswap and others. So we had this analysis when we built Uniswap a few years ago. So what swap VM gives you actually? If you would try to develop AMM on its own, you wanna deliver some swap logic. You have cool algorithm and swap logic, but you have to develop all these things: deposits, withdrawals, balances accounting for LPs, and at the end swap settlement, how exactly these transfers forms would happen. And you have to audit all this code. And when you develop for swap VM, you can avoid all those things. You could just make your swap logic. You could make your own instructions which can be combined with each other, because we have instruction level composability here. Code level composability means that you could borrow code from any GitHub repository when you develop your own AMM. But this is like still much more complicated than writing instructions which can be combined with each other. And that's it. Any questions? I think we have a lot of time for questions, by the way.
How do you control the impermanent loss as well?
Know how. Yeah, I mean, here we see that AMMs, they do actual strategy. So they have some invariant or any other formula which they wish, and they could introduce you to impermanent losses. That's correct. But this is business logic of those AMMs, the same way as it's happening to existing AMMs. The difference here is that we have a separate settlement layer for AMMs, which lets you to have shared access. And when you commit any liquidity to any pool, you expect some returns, some yield. And for sure, you have some risks of impermanent loss, which is impermanent, and it's sometimes worse or sometimes better. But the thing is that when you make the same amounts, same balances work in multiple strategies, you get all this yield from every of them. That's because this is possible because most of your capital will be contributing to those price shaping formulas, but most of your capital will still sit on the balance. That was on the very first slide here, that in Uniswap v2, most of the days, 85% of USDC or Ether was there. It was not moving. It was defining the price, but it was not actually utilized. And imagine you could like put it in 20 positions and then it will be fully utilized every day. But yeah, you have to maintain balances above zero to make it work. If one of your balances would reach zero, this means that takers will not be able to perform swaps. And if you would at some point increase your balance, you could meet instant impermanent loss. So someone would arbitrage you. So I would recommend you to close positions when you are illiquid. But even if you have not done this, it's still not a showstopper. It's impermanent loss, even if it's instant.
Please first.
Okay. I'm not sure what is Euler swap. I will check.
Oh, it's a hook on Uniswap.
It's a hook on Uniswap.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So they're basically allowing you.
Euler is a money market, yeah?
They allow you to use your LP. I mean, liquidity from them to your LP and press funds or with your LP at Metro and from the market, and then you swap with the water liquidity and then you pay.
Is it borrowing on demand or is just leveraging liquidity? It's borrowing on demand. Yeah, I have it on this slide. Yeah, this is possible, but to achieve this as a user, you have to use smart wallet or at least 7702. At the moment of the swap, you can have like hooks in AMM as a maker, and you could borrow on demand. That's possible, yeah. But here is, for example, a scheme how money market can be used. Like there are some projects who lets you leverage your liquidity for money market or for AMMs. But the thing is that liquidity providers are able to do this manually. They can go to Aave, put their 1K into 3K collateral and 2K debt, and then they could run AMM on top of their A tokens. And this would work without any additional code from our side or our side. This would just work. And takers should be caring about using AMMs that way that they push first and pull second. For example, in SwapVM, we have a special flag for taker. It's called is transfer from taker first.
Single side liquidity.
Huh?
Can I provide single side liquidity?
Yes, sure. You can provide single-side liquidity. For example, if you use those concentrated liquidity, yeah, you can. I mean, yeah, you would let only one balance will be more than zero, another balance would be zero, and yeah, it will start working like that. So real balances will be starting from this point or this point, but virtual balances after applying this instruction will be somewhere here.
You are doing just in time liquidity.
Not really. I mean,
You are adding
no pools. No pools at all. We think that AMM pools was a misconception, or probably it was their time to leave. Nowadays, we can have no pools at all. We could have like personal AMMs running on top of your balances, and this would be far more efficient. For sure, there are like trade-offs, like it's not discoverable on chain completely. But yeah, it's actually business of those AMMs. So those AMMs, they just get the balances, virtual balances here, and they compute some. SwapVM is actually here, one of the AMMs. It's getting those balances, loading it into those data model, and one of the amounts is provided by taker. And then it's somehow computing the missing amount. And yeah, any AMM is actually doing this, but SwapVM is doing this as instructions. Yeah.
yield comes from something.
Yeah, swap fees. Yeah, it could be flat fees, it could be dynamic fees, it could be Dutch auction for arbitrage opportunity. What exactly? No. It's very different in terms of abilities. With hooks, you could have much less agility. It's not that agile because this thing is agile like 100%. You could build any AMM on top of it. You could implement Uniswap logic, balancer logic, curve logic, whatever you want. It's just a different settlement layer. No requirements. Yeah, you can deploy and you just use Aqua for settlement. Do not interact with tokens directly. Do not use transfers from. Just ask for balances and use pull push, and this would work. So Aqua is not is providing convenient way for balances accounting. It does not provide any guarantees that AMM would earn money. For sure, this AMM could just pull everything and run away if it's untrusted. Yeah, it's permissionless. Yeah. It's permissionless same way as AMMs are permissionless right now. It's just settlement layer which gives you shared access to liquidity, LP liquidity. Which position?
Spare position, about to spare position.
They're not doing shared liquidity. They're doing remote access to liquidity. They do not reuse your liquidity in multiple strategies. And this thing lets you do this. And this thing is self-custody. Those AMMs, where it can definitely be custody. This can be PMM. This will be a very nice accounting for PMMs when you provide your liquidity to them for their strategies. But yeah, I would prefer using AMMs. Yeah, I think that barter could probably work as a PMM here. You could allocate balances through Aqua and you will see how they pull and push. I think this would be more convenient and more transparent how exactly it is working probably. So yeah. Yeah, it's on GitHub. There is a white paper. White paper for SwapVM is coming soon. Yeah. I can hear, sir. Sorry, couldn't repeat.
Aqua backward compatible with DEX is already live. Like, can I use it? I use it to balance. No.
I think it's not compatible with existing DEXs because they have to use Aqua. Aqua is using nothing. It's only using your maker's tokens. It's oriented here, and those AMMs, they are using Aqua for settlement instead of interacting with tokens and locking them inside of them. So yeah, but almost any existing AMM could be rewritten to use Aqua instead of locking balances. Similar to what? No. You could reuse same capital in multiple different strategies and it would earn simultaneously. That's the hugest difference because you have most of the liquidity which is unutilized or like underutilized. And this thing would lets you utilize it like 100%. And moreover, it's making your assets DeFi enabled, like this. So assets on your wallet are DeFi enabled, so you could do anything to them. And for now, you have money markets, votings, and other things. But I expect DAO to have more features in future. Yeah, you're welcome. So this thing is decreasing fragmentation for liquidity providers. But it's definitely increasing fragmentations for takers. But aggregators, solvers, networks are already solving this pretty well. So there are some downsides for some players, but we try to increase and leverage LP experience here. Hope they will enjoy it. Yes?
The slide.
This one? Okay.
Three different pairs.
This? Ah, here.
Yeah. The price, each PM, how is it? Because it not depends on the end, it depends on the liquidity of all.
No. AMM should define price based on virtual balances without taking into account real balances or allowances here, because this would make everything worse and it will huge surface for attacks. Just rely on those balances and everything will be fine. I guarantee. I'm an engineer. I mean, trust me, I'm an engineer, yeah? Like a meme. So, yeah, if your balances would not be enough, taker would not be able to perform actual transaction. And this is a problem for taker to determine that they should not do this. But takers are getting smarter and smarter with all those aggregation solvers networks. Yeah, so yeah.
But how, for example, in the pair SAC, WBTC, you need an amount of WBTC to set the price, but maybe you don't have that liquidity in your account.
Yeah, this is not problem because even if it's zero, some strategies would not be able to work. So they will just stuck, and we call it illiquidity. So you could be, some of your positions could be illiquid, and we would recommend you to close them because if price went far away, if you would get wrapped BTC on your wallet, you will be immediately losing by arbitrage. But this is impermanent loss. It's an immediate impermanent loss. This is not something cool, but it's something manageable. It's not like a showstopper. Welcome. More questions?
There is a 1 million, for example, 1 million USDC in the Aqua. So each pool has 1 million USDC, right?
Yeah.
Which
Yeah.
like USDC and EBTC and USDC.
Sure. If you have 1 million of USDC, 1 million of USDT, and 1 million of DAI, you could have 2 pairs of pools, and it's like 6 millions of liquidity. And this would work like this, while you still have only 3 millions, and your yield will be twice higher until one of the balances will be drained. So if it's drained, you have to refill it. You have to do something. You have to close positions, increase balance. Yeah, it would not work. But while it's working, it's earning in all those positions. It's the same way as it's happening right now. So yeah, you have to trust some protocols when you're like letting them trade your assets. So yeah, we can't help with that. We can have audits here. So yeah. So yeah, actually we can't protect you from AMM which is working unexpectedly because it's permissionless. But we are providing our own solution here. It's called Swap VM, which can be configured and which works predictable as you expect, based on specification, on how you configured your instructions, which instructions you want. So you would get predictable behavior. Huh?
After the taker submits an order, how does Aqua decide who the maker should be?
Oh. Yeah, Aqua have records. In its storage, it stores for each maker, for each application, for each strategy hash, for each token, what is the balance. So maker just puts some balances for some strategies. Huh? You don't need to register, but maker have to set balances for this AMM. So yeah, you have to find out this AMM somewhere. It could be someone's website, and they offer AMM which works through Aqua, and they would help you to make transactions which would set balances for you for this specific AMM, some specific balances. Yeah. What AMM win? Oh yeah, that's a good question. So now AMMs, they compete by TVL. And this is very hard to compete, very hard to attract capital which someone have to lock. Because they have 2 risks. First is that your smart contract can be hacked. It's manageable with audits. And second risk is that if some liquidity provider decides to put 1 million into your AMM, it have to withdraw 1 million from somewhere where it's already working. So it's missing profits potentially. And with this scheme, they don't need to withdraw from anywhere. If you are coming with a cool AMM solution, they can just give you some share. So you will get shared access to their existing balances. And if you would prove that your yield is cool enough, they would give you more. So yeah, I think this would strive competition of AMMs. They would be more efficient. I mean, this is like a so strange approach that we have only few flat fees out in the existing pools. We have 0.3, 0.1, and 1 percentages. You know, this is like very inefficient. You know what would happen to your liquidity if you would put two different strategies, one with 0.1 fee and one with 0.2? Do you know what would happen to the volumes and to your profits? They would not be different as twice. When your fees are twice higher, you would not get half of the volumes. You would get 1.5 less of the volumes. I mean, it depends. So you could optimize fees for better profits. Maybe 0.17 multiplied by the volumes you would get would give you the maximum profit. So I expect LPs to optimize it far more than it's optimized right now, because now it's suboptimal, I would say. А? Да. Не понял? Да, для любых. Yeah, it's yeah. Every AMM here, 1 second. Every AMM here should rely on those balances and arbitrary strategy they wish. It could be range, it could be concentrated, it could be unconcentrated, it could be fixed fees, flat fees, it could be dynamic fees, it could be arbitrage auctions, it could be anything. It's business of those strategies. And yeah, in Swap VM, you could have something like this, where you just make it highly composable and highly modular, with ability to add own instructions to combine your logic with existing logic. I think that we should reimagine how AMMs works, because it's actually a spread machine which is moving with arbitrage volumes, and it's earning profits even on toxic flow. When price went somewhere and get back, you are definitely earning. You could lose on impermanent loss, but you are always earning. Toxic flow was non-profitable only because you had no leverage. It was like a super small profit. But now you can have this leverage. So amount of liquidity you have could be 10, 20 times higher than balances you have. What liquidity providers would do with all those profits? I don't know. Eh? For sure, but impermanent loss is not like it's impermanent. Yeah, I mean, it's not like always more. I mean, since it's like different assets, I would not expect all of them to move in one direction. Some is higher, for some it's less. So yeah, but you have to hedge it somehow. You will have higher utilization and more volumes. So I think that we would have completely different metric of this. The amount of funds which is idle on your wallet will be far, far less. It could be 5-10% if you're like really committed to. And the thing is that, this is important thing, that your capital efficiency is in your hands, not in hands of specific protocol. So the more you're committed and the more efforts you apply, the more you earn, the more you yield. Sure. Yeah. I mean, but previously it was metric of protocols, and it should not be the metric of the protocol. If you could use multiple protocols as the same liquidity, it's actually metric of how you are committed to this thing, how you're managing this liquidity. For sure, the more you're active, the more you earn. So the same thing as PMMs, because PMMs were actually having this ability to use capital among strategies, but it's custody solution. And we are bringing this shared capital ability to self-custody. Okay, thank you, everyone.